Well, it's Tuesday morning, and Brad Holmes has already gotten to work and has made some phone calls and brought in a player already, signing another defensive end to the Detroit Lions 53-man roster, and his name is Isaiah Thomas. He's a former seventh-round pick from the Cleveland Browns that made his way to the Bengals practice squad, and that's where Brad Holmes found him this morning. Now, Thomas is, of course, the newest addition to the Detroit Lions defense, but I bet many of you are wondering, just who is he? What has he done? A seventh-round pick? What are we doing here? Well, Dan kind of gave you the answer, and I think Brad has given you the answer for 4 years now. The Detroit Lions are not going to go out and make big splash signings on guys that they have not drafted. Their want and their needs are totally different than what the fans are. And I think that is something that finally fans need to swallow that hard pill, that you're going to have all of these big names thrown in front of you, and they're just not going to happen for a multitude of reasons that I'm not going to get into in this video. I just went over it in the morning show for 2 hours. There's a reason why these players don't come to this team. But more importantly, I think that the Detroit Lions defense is going to find a way to win from within. We have a very solid interior pressure system right now. Between Ali McNeil and DJ Reader, they had more pressures than anybody else on the team on Sunday versus Dak Prescott. Let me say that another way. The defensive tackles had more pressures than anybody else on the team on Sunday versus Dak Prescott. And they are the reason why the pressure happened, and they are the reason why we won this game. And I think that is telling, because that is the style of defense that Aaron Glenn is really wanting to see every single week. It's interior pressure that leads to exterior help with a backfield that is holding their own and stopping the pass after the front shuts down the run. There's multiple moving parts here, and it takes everybody to do their part. But I will tell you this, the Lions are going to find a way to win. The season is not over. And this new player that we're bringing in, who's extremely raw, but also extremely athletic, fits the mold perfectly to what a defensive end should be. Now, during the offseason, I broke down what a perfect size defensive end should be, and that was based off of the top 20 of the best defensive ends to play the game. And that was over the most recent 10-year span. So when I did that, I had found out that, somewhere between a 6'3" and like a 6'5" defensive end, it was perfect. And that weight, somewhere between, 250 pounds and 270 pounds was perfect. But you had to have arms that were longer than 33 inches, and you had to have pretty good size mitts. Well, Isaiah Thomas fits that mold. He's 6'5", 266 pounds, 33 1/4 inch arms, and 10 1/4 inch hands. He was rated as a 6 prospect grade back in 2022's draft process, where his athleticism score was a 70. And look, he ran a 40 and 4.7. He had a 1.66 10-yard split, a 31.5 inch vertical jump, a 9.9 broad jump. Pretty solid details and scores for this young player here, who's again very, very, very raw. 7th round, pick number 2, Cleveland Browns. And it's telling, or will be telling, when Terrell Williams wraps his arms around this guy and pulls everything out of him, how good he's going to be able to be. Now, right now, he's just a depth piece. He's on the roster because he has to be, but he's a depth piece. He is somebody that at some point in time, the Lions are going to have to trust to do some work. That could be 3 weeks from now. It could be this week. It could be not at all this year, but it is somebody that they believe in, that they're going to be able to develop and help grow into a good football player. Now, back to the big names, the big splash names that you're not going to see over the next 3 weeks. And I say 3 weeks because the trade deadline closes on November 5th, which is in about 3 weeks. Brad Holmes has never brought in a big name, and he's not going to start today. He's going to do what he's doing right here. He's going to bring in depth pieces and expect that this core, right, the team of 69 that the Lions originally started with, that this core is who they're going to rely on. They're going to bring guys up, and then they're going to backfill. When one drops out of the funnel, they're going to refill the funnel with a new guy. We might see a second-tier guy get added to this team. Maybe an $8, $9, $10, $12 million a year guy. That would be great. I would love to see another Marcus Davenport-esque type of player being added to this team via a trade. And if we're giving up more than a 5th-round pick, I would be surprised. But I think the Lions should be able to find something, within that realm that can help this team win. Now, back to what I was saying. The Lions have already suffered quite a few injuries, right? Aiden Hutchinson is the most recent. Nasty, gruesome, broken leg that required immediate surgery. And again, my heart and thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, and of course the teammates, during that time. But we also lost Marcus Davenport, and we still won games. When we lost Aiden, the defense continued to hold and still prevented the Cowboys from scoring. The interior defensive line had more pressures than anybody on the defense during this game. against the Cowboys. And that is something that I've been driving all season to try to get fans to understand, is that the true nature of a defense's success is through the center of a defense. It's not through the outside. The edge is meant to contain. It's meant to shut down the run from getting on the outside. But it is also utilized to create pressure and get after the quarterback. But the interior defensive line, that's the presence that this defense has been building toward. And then also adding to the back end of the defense with adding all of these new corners and young corners to be able to give the defensive line a little bit more time to work. When you look around the league, it's very rare that you see, teams that have multiple high-end defensive ends. They usually have one really good one and then, a bunch of second-tier guys. And that's exactly what the Lions had until they brought in Marcus Davenport. He was clearly another top-end defensive end that just went through a little bit of an injury bug. But had he still been with us, he was probably going to be one of the bigger producers on this team given a little bit more time. We've seen his production, working his ass off, even though he didn't end up in the stat sheet all the time, was helping this team win. So we can do it with second-tier guys, absolutely. And I expect that that's what the Lions are going to continue to do throughout the rest of the season. So Isaiah Thomas, there's really not much to speak to here. He really hasn't done anything since he's been in the league. And again, I think that this is the first of a couple of picks at the Lions, or a couple of transactions for the Lions over the next few weeks. They do have some spots to fill, but I think that there's one key thing I need to note here. The roster is set at 53 right now. So who are we going to bump off of the roster and to send down to the practice squad with the opportunity to get poached by another team? That is the question that you have to answer right now. Who are you willing to give up? And are you willing to make a trade? Because I think that's the only way you're going to get it done. You're going to have to give a player up to be able to bring a player in. And the only player that seems to make sense right now is the guy I'm going to talk about in my next video because of something that Dan Campbell said during his press conference. That's right. I picked up on it again, and we're going to talk about it here this afternoon. All right. Well, welcome to the Pride, Mr. Thomas. It's funny you've got the same name as an old goat that used to play for the Pistons, but clearly different people, different positions, different sports. But welcome to the Pride, and that's your big news of the morning. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have already gotten to work in trying to help rebuild the outside of this defense after Aiden Hutchinson's gruesome injury. So that's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe on your way out and help this channel grow. We would greatly appreciate the opportunity to earn your subscription. We really work hard in trying to give you guys good, wholesome, quality content that is full of truthfulness, facts, and transparency, because that's what we believe in here at Rockhound Podcast Network, the home of the Rockhound Detroit Lions and the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Take care. Have a good day, y'all. Go on Pride. Go Detroit Lions. See you in the next one.